Right. Hi, everyone. It's Professional High Priestess, and I'm just here to. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. Okay. Now, this one is going to be like a little bit different. I just wanted to teach you guys about chemical servers and what's going to end up happening for machine learning models. And, and I'm going to give you an example of how this works. Mhm. Okay, let's get started. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's actually really good. She's getting in there. Yeah, that is. She's actually the grandbaby of she's the okay. All right, you guys. Sorry about the technical difficulties. So let's get started. So this tutorial is going to be called Belcalis In Dominica. And I'm going to be teaching you guys about chemical files, um, servers, grids, XY coordinates. And you guys know I like to be funny, but also we can be scientific about something so treacherous and ridiculous. I did want to say that I've introduced a new environment on the internet. The Akasha Codice has formed, the terminal has formed as well. I need about one more. And I wanted to say that we brought down a new, gosh, I wanted to show you guys this because it looks so dank. And look at all the crystals. Look at this, right? This is like made from like some cinnamon that's like almost the same color as gold. That's like a crazy DMT. Yeah. And I processed her a little bit different because I don't know. When I went through the cheesecloth, I took so much of the oil out that I said, let me bake this. And then when I baked it and then I froze it, and then that intelligence made her super like agitated. And she was like, that's fine, bitch, whatever. I'm gonna be brand new on this planet. So we have a really strong DMT sequence in this. But what I really liked about this is like, oh, I got into like a specific like vision, more like when you go on psychedelics, which I'm gonna talk about in a minute, and why there is none, right? When you go into psychedelics, like you really want to be able to open up like specific realms of consciousness so that you can work in those realms. That's like more or less the reason why people do them or why they used to. Oh, okay, this will strengthen my hand in this place. This will strengthen my vision in this place. This will strengthen my ability to move my car in this place. I get a new body and I can navigate this place. So that's more or less why people play with psychedelics. So I really like this. And it just the smell alone is like, oh my God. And some of you guys know this, but some of you guys do know. I make hash in my kitchen. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on right now. But I don't sell this. I'm only doing like wholesale. And this is more like medicine, right? So I just wanted to show you guys this because this one is like the lemongrass. They're both next to each other, but one of them is like I tried these together, but she really wants to play with a different one. Sometimes they're like, oh, that's my sister, but I want to play with something else. Like she's just being like snotty. Like, oh, okay, you're here, that's great, but I want to play with her. Okay. Right. Right. Look at that. Okay, good. Right. This is a lemongrass hash. Right. And then think of like the color of these things. No, it smells a little bit like lemongrass, but the oil really smells like lemongrass, and it's really good in vape pens. So I say all that to say, oh look, oh, well, interesting. Hmm. Okay. I never really knew you guys like standardize all these stuff sizes of jars. So that to say I'm excited and I'm happy. So this cinnamon hash is going to give us some environment on the internet, just like lemongrass. And this is where we can get like male colognes because she's like really, she, I'll just say this. This high priest is really like a wood. This is like cinnamon wood, right? Where it grows on a tree, but like in flower form. So we can then do like more oatmeal colognes, but we can also do more things with statistics, which is really her function. Like she runs specific type of like reactions, like, oh, I want to program this nitrogen in real time while we're trying to like accelerate and then like airplane mode, accelerate airplane mode. She will be able to like handle all that and then like give you the coordinates that you need to like program in that can then allow like your vehicle or vessel to like move in that way. That's kind of like her a little bit more. So we put this environment on the internet. Don't I just want you guys to know I don't do drugs. I know a lot of my kids, my students are watching. I don't dare, right? So that was a problem for me. Like I like psychedelics, but this is not healthy. There's meth and things they put lean promethazine. I mean, I like purple drinks. I make psychedelics, right? But wow. And a psychedelic reality is a coding reality, is a professional reality, right? So the indigenous reality is a psychedelic. They come hand in hand. So if you're an indigenous person, you clearly see we're involved in psychedelics and why they're clearly starting wars over psychedelics. Coca's a psychedelic, and I make that too in my kitchen. So I just want to say that just to preface this and let you guys know there's a new environment. Now let's get into the, very good. One of the things too that like I like about this is like when you do like the drying out, my favorite part is like when it dries out and then it starts smelling a little bit. And you put it in the jars, and then I put the jars in front of the sun, and then it makes it really cool. So Belcalis In Dominica. So I've heard chaos, right, is occurring. Those things have happened. Right? 6 dead babies in front of a police station in Dominican Republic. Found at the entrance of a cemetery. Just they figure like, oh, like public works, like the babies are here, they'll just bury them. Like, oh, if you put this in a trash can, like they'll come later and take it. So what ended up happening here is that these children were found. Now I'll tell you how these children were being used. Let's talk about chemical servers. Right? So one of the things, and this is why I had to mention her, because she runs these type of blood systems. One of the things that they were doing to cause chaos was they were snatching people's kids, grown people, burying them alive, causing chaos to use them as chemical servers. So what does that mean? Like, oh, your heart rate, your blood is pumping, it's going through this side of your heart into this left ventricle, out of that atrium, et cetera, a cycle. They were using things that are on a specific time cycle, like your heart beats every so often, your blood pumps through your body completely every so often, your digestive tract releases this enzyme or has these specific contractions, or movements every so often. You have your period every now and then, but they were using more of the ones that are like in the second to minute to hour sequence. And they were then tying magic, like, oh, eat this herb, eat these photos, eat this magic paper, etc., that I wrote like nonsense on, etc. Then in space, what someone will do is like, I want to activate this spell. I will use a substance, create a form or a body or a type of like speech, use the growth factor that attached to the child or innocent person, right? From your nutrition to keep this like cycle going and then keep this body going and then create a body so that I can then go ahead and have something like running some type of chemical server, but it's really to activate like a spiral in a chemical server that can then produce these effects through people around you or through in your life individually through the zodiac, right? Because zodiac is the most immediate form of chemistry. So through the planets, and by bringing in like a specific or activating spiral from a debilitated aspect of a planet or through a debilitated intelligence that is hosted on the zodiac sign on a planet, I can create these like chemical functions. So they get, the way that this works is there's a white person in the computer, in a laboratory, of course, always, right? And they're sitting at the computer and they're making sure that, oh, we want to get this outcome, right? A glamour spell to be here. I need to make sure that this child's heart rate is going up here and here, that this is happening. Oh, in order for us to get to that point, this coordinate that's here needs to move like here or here or here. That means that I need to change, right? What's going on with this child, their heart rate, their heartbeat, how often their blood pumps, change even the intelligence of their blood from something that's viscous to something that's more of a molasses type of consistency, right? And that's going to change the type of function too. It will slow things down. And then what I will do is I'll put a paper in the child's mouth. I'll say we'll never get to his mate. It will slow things down. Okay. You can't stop it, just slow it down. Okay. Right. So now what we're coming here, what we're coming into, right, is what they were doing behind the scenes and what this is like. They upload the child. There's somebody in space tied to a specific like portal, playing games. That magic is all done and broken now. Using a specific type of technology to track the child and try to have access to their energy field, right? Then what's happening here is they are then tying that child to you. Oh, if you have the zodiac sign or the blood of the child or feces or a body part, it's then put into your food. Usually this is in real time. So if you guys are currently in that virtual reality or in the dream machine, or there's certain levels of magic being worked on you, like a heat by your ear or conflict spells, etc., that is because that there's a child currently being used as a chemical server and they're keeping up all of that, right? So then what you now need to know is that, oh, okay, I need to separate from this. If it's still acting in your energy, that means that the child has maybe ingested some of your energy because that's what they did. Or this child could be in your family, or you're related to this child some way, some shape, or some form. Or there was something in the sexual nature, like, oh, she got 2 kids in foster care, took the uterus of one, and then used one as a chemical server. I didn't know that. I was having sex with her, and I was wondering why the spell wasn't breaking because I was like on my P's and Q's and eating my rice and peas, right? So those are just some of the ways that they play with like this type of like work, like chemical servers and grid files and using children as chemical servers. And why the baby? They say, oh, well, the baby just came from there. The spiritual world, the energy is more like sensitive to that place. And that's really not the science, but that brings more karma, right? So this is when you get, and no, I mean, and to get that, and this is where you get that type of stuff from, right? These type of like downloads, right? You think it's like, what? It's like, you might like just really like people getting reprimanded for doing this type of thing. And then you have chemical file extensions, right? So when you have chemical file extensions, you have to know that like one of the things that they're doing is like, oh, it needs to be in this specific format so that the octopus can talk and send messages back and forth and send energies and intelligences back and forth and send substances back and forth. Because so many intelligences will then create a substance. So like so many negative people will create a portal of fuckery, like, oh, I don't want to go to that school. I don't want to be in that class. I don't want to be in that hood anymore. That type of thing, right? Commissars. So now, right, one of the things that we have here is like, oh, okay, this is going to stop because now people know the science of it. It didn't need to be that like, I'll say this, right, as an educator. It's just how the way you explain things that make it count and are compelling, right? So now, chemical markup language, distinguishing formats, right? Like, are you using like, I'll say this, are you using like the shape, right? The geometric pattern, which is outdated? Are you using the chemical sequence? Are you using the image for some of them, right? The molecular image, it's like a few ones that you can use, or are you using a file that has like it's like .mol, where you have to put in specific like coordinates from like the periodic table of elements, like, oh, it's this element, it's mass, it's wave, proton, neutron, etc. And that's really more like when you're getting into specific things, like specifically this, right? So then what they can then do is take that decimal point and take all those comma slots, and then what they can then do is take that calculator, which we talked about. Right? They can take that calculator, which is on another chemical server, right? And they can say, oh, the heart rate of the child, let me just turn this on. Thank you. The heart rate of the child is like 0.89 BPM, right? When you go to get your like your heart rate, or I want to do like your heart rate and your blood pressure, and they put the cuff and stuff, it's one number over another number. So one is a numerator, one is a denominator, right? So what you then do is you just invoke a specific equation, get a quotient. They use that quotient, right? So 135 over 89. So let me just type that in, 135 divided by 89, right? Okay, equals. They could take that or they don't even need to, in this type of calculator, it doesn't need to go that far. You can then start adding functions like onto that, right? And basically what you're saying is I want this specific like equation or quotient or outcome to follow through the equation. So even if I've invoked sin and now I'm moving into like a specific equation set that like needs that sin, but we're also invoking tan because there's sin tan or sin H. What you're then going to do is make sure that that follows all the way through the equation set. And then I have my outcome and then I have my grid, right? And then I know for a fact that if I get a child this weight, at this age, breathing at this beats per minute, having this chemical in them, because they also inject the children, you know, that's a large part of it with the chemical files. Because how do they get onto the server to then have that going, right? Then I can have like a specific server going where I know for a fact I'm going to be having a specific, like a physiological outcome on your homeostasis, right? Because homeostasis is a specific chemical sequence and a specific numerical outcome, right? Depending on like your size and weight. Then this is where we get like BMI and stuff like that. So BMI wouldn't be considered like a homeostasis. It would be like a metric, but like think of like BMI. It's specific to like your weight and your height, right? So your homeostasis is like something like that. We're specific to like your personalized like metrics. So you're going to get into that. And then you're going to say, oh, okay, well, now the child is going to eat the magic. They're going to activate the paper, activate the herbs, activate the octagons in the speech that are in the Kuzuwai space of the herb, right? So there's 30 spaces you want to know about when you're playing with the herbal realm. There's the Kuya space, the ways in which the geometric pattern that the speech, that the plant is holding, like, oh, we have a speech. I'm always with God. That's an octagon with the 10, right? But I have another speech, which is my phytochemical, right? And then I have another speech, which is like my DNA sequence, the federation that I'm from, the Azteca level that I'm from, et cetera. It's the structure that I'm on altogether. And this is where you get, oh, I'm in this sister of scents. I'm in this like brotherhood of like colors in this herb, like Chimarquais, right? Where you get different type of like colors in like these type of firewoods. And they're used for different purposes. Like I can take a Chimarquai and make Hennessy, or I could take a Chimarquai and destroy your whole village because it's warfare magic, right? Chimarquais, right? So, oh, then you get into that type of geometric patterning, like, oh, like, what's your city like? Like, oh, I'm from this block and that block. But, you know, like when I'm not like doing that, I'm like working in this capacity as a high priest or somebody working in this sector or sector, that sector. I have my own specific speech, right? So then they're trying to use the child's like biorhythms and metrics to activate that. And that's basically like what this is and why these people's kids are going missing, right? So then you're involving, of course, pedophilia and molestation. And then there's a white man that thinks like, oh, I'm going to be an octopus or something by doing this and that. And now merging with your energy field or whatever, which that's not how it works, but that's just how you get smacked out. So then we take this calculator and it's tied to a chemical server. I've broken that. That's that. They're looking for something new, right? Because remember, it's tied to like solar panels too. So there's a certain aspect of NASA involved in this with specific coordinates and ellipses and rotations, and then the patterns of different satellites and moons going around different planets, and the zodiac also involved in that. And some of you guys saw this with when we did chemical files for NASA and we rewrote the internet by breaking that. So they involve that too because it's on the internet for free. And this is where we get like this public data, right? And this is where you get into certain things with NASA. And this is when you get into certain things with like NASA, like, oh, well, you want to, it's a maternal law book, like some of this stuff, like, oh, why can't I get like my therapist, you know, she did her training, why can't she read my cards on astrology? So that will dictate, you know, my psychotherapy and my psychiatry, the utilization of the pharmacy and mental health, right? Why can't I do that? Because I know that Daisy actually drafted out a whole entire framework for that. And it's in that new book. I sent you guys an email about that. Like, oh, if you bought this book, Applications of Tarot and Psychology and Mental Health, psychology. If you get this book, yes. And I redrew all the house systems. And then I wrote out the intelligences. So you guys can get this book again. And I put out the missing planets and what they mean. So you guys can like get your intelligences like sorted out, right? So hyperdimensional planets and what they mean. So you guys can have it accurate. And psychiatry, astrology, utilization of minerals, right? But remember that game is like done for. And there's another thing like, oh, if I feel this child this, I can own this in the pharmaceutical industry. That's not how it works, but that's again how you get smacked out. So, right. So we're taking things like that, and then we're talking about like, oh, CoStar. They have to request CoStar. They have to request data from NASA for their app. How would that be the case? Oh, okay, right. So you have to have a data agreement, right? So there's standard data agreement, standard reimbursable, non-reimbursable, et cetera, right? You need to be at a certain partnership. You have partnership requirements too. So I'm just showing the investigators where to go look who's playing with this because it has to involve NASA and the planet. So now basic principles observed and reported, right? Tech readiness levels. Okay, basic scientific research, right? Technology concepts, or like you have to have something ready. You have to be at least by like a level 4 to be playing with this. Most of them are level 4. There's 2 of them that are like level 1. Level 2, there's 1. Level 3, there's like 3 of them. So, right, to request data and stuff like that, so you can use their systems like web applications, machine learning, AI projects as well. Right? So now we get into how like public dollars are being used to create chaos so that white people with private intentions, right? So in a world that is very disgusting, it needs like legal language to explain why thousands of children are missing. I just don't understand why though. It seems like some like strange phenomenon. Can you explain why? I can explain why now here, right? So give me 1 second. So now we get into like, okay, so now we know what to do and we know where to move from here. Chemical markup language, HTML, XML, CML, molecular, and other chemical data. And by having that data up, I've then invoked its intelligence. So then I can then access its different databases, right? If I have the Akasha. Otherwise, I'm playing with people's kids in a laboratory and then saying Mark Zuckerberg and this and that. And oh, it's just AI. There's no kids here. It's just AI. I didn't know that there was Chiang in the freezer at the taqueria down the street from Queen's apartment by the bus stop number 66. And that's why it's always smelling. And that's why the police are back and forth over there. Right? So now we've come into like something else. Like, okay, protein data bank. Ribosomes. Why do you need a protein data bank? What are you doing with them? Right? I want to understand a microbe database. Like, oh, we can program different like probiotics. Protein, and then you create prions. I don't really need that. Like, you don't really need that. That's for people, chemical banks, it's in proteins, because you're getting data and cells from these children, and then you're looking into proteins and proteins, RNA, right? Proteins, the building block to then create DNA, right? So before you have like the whole DNA double helix, which is a quadruple helix for indigenous people, you have proteins that then formulate and get together. Peptides come together, and then they build little molecules, and then they build chains, and then those chains get together in the shape and formation of voila, you have your DNA spiral, right? So a protein data bank, right? So we clearly see that the government has put in time and energy into this, aka PubMed. Mm-hmm. COMAX again, right? Molecular dynamic simulations. So this will be like COMAX is like after you do these little things on the calculator, you do this and you put these computations, you put this in a specific format so that we send it to the octopus and she can just make sure that she can access the time because she's really looking at the clock. She's looking at the protein in the food. It says this many calories because of the barometer that we're using. Oh, this is not accurate. It's not accurate. It's not accurate. It's because this is dependent on like who's eating it. Homeostasis, you have to see that. People's body burns calorie different. So what's going to be 150 calories for you, maybe 10 calories for me. And that's very much true. And this is where we get unnatural causes, right? And then this is really natural causes, right? Where there was a specific highlight of a community. They were Native American, and they were very obese because just one generation lost like access to water, and then they lost access to like their ability to control their diet. So they all blew up, and they look like caricatures. That's the thing. They know that they're like it's like strange because we know that this is because of the food. It was unnatural causes. Unnatural causes, Indian reservation. Bad sugar explores the effects within two native communities. This is it. And this is where you get like, oh, okay. So this is how they play with these type of people, right? Because you see how their body processed the same stuff that we eat, their bodies processed it differently. So much so that their entire image changed in just one generation. This could be it. The Pima, yeah, it's a whole new people. Oh, this whole new oh, this is gonna cause some problems, just like on Hawaii. Thank you. They're about a type of warfare in plant crystals, which would be like another like type of spiral set that you want to impact. But that's only if you're like up in the analog space. That magic like doesn't work beyond like a specific like universal subset. It was never really on this planet. That's like like so. It is so funny that this is up here. The Ohodam are going to come up too. These are two Tohono, Ohodam. They're two different like federations. It's just basically, it's kind of like similar to like Tenochtitlan or Oaxaca, this type of beach too. So I want you guys to go ahead and watch this. I don't know why they don't have images. Oh, here we go. I think it's important for people to see their image. Yeah, water rights and diabetes.
There's a direct connection between the diversion of water in the upper Gila River and the health status and economic status of Pimas and Maricopas. In the 1890s, water simply stopped coming down the Gila River.
Upstream, water from the Gila was diverted by dams and water projects, giving white settlers, farmers, ranchers, and mining interests the water they needed.
And we were dependent upon that water to grow crops, to provide for ourselves.
Not even the 1908 Supreme Court decision upholding water rights for all Native Americans could protect the Pima. The Coolidge Dam. In 1930, one of the largest in the world, it's promised to provide water for everyone, this time including the Pima.
Think of traditional American Indian food, for example. Fry bread is one of the things that comes to mind. Well, in truth, tribes did not have fried bread historically. The roots of fry bread are in the commodity food program. And fry bread is essentially trying to do the best that you can with your commodities, flour, lard, and vegetable shortening. Over generations, when people grow up with that, it becomes a part of the culture. It becomes acculturated into the community that is part of the norm.
And because they didn't have their food, and then you see clearly that they were dealing with some type of chemical warfare because their body was basically then put in a specific space using Mahashana heat magic, saying that this intelligence is going to slow down and this is going to speed up, right? So that your appetite will speed up, so you're always hungry, but then your metabolism will slow down, right? Because heat can also slow things down if you understand that reaction too. So it's more of like a death reaction. So now, right, for decomposition, it could stop all that type of stuff. So now what we're looking at here is like, oh, okay, I didn't know that people knew what we were doing and like why everyone's kids went missing in Oakland and why there's all these tent cities to prepare for this. And now everyone realizing like why everyone went against Daisy at once because everyone was involved, right? Now everyone sees that everyone thought that they would be playing with me and snatching people's kids and getting 50 or 60 bucks per newborn to play like that, right? And this is where you get like stories about Guadalupe. not the Virgin Mary, Mother Mary, like kind of like ha ha, right? Like, oh wow, how like ironic, disturbing details. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Then now we're gonna get a lot of money. Only $60, $40. I'm home again. And this is where you get like things like this that are so egregious, they start wars, right? So, High Priest, you're good to go with whatever you want to do next with these politicians because now they know. So this is where you get like NIH contracts for Spry. Mhm. Right? That's okay. So this is where you get right like nonsense like Spry. Used to work for the feds, getting NIH contracts to play with people's kids. Right? From where the cartels being robbed for like different metals and glass to make this contraption and that contraption and this server and that one to play with people's kids. Because they thought that, well, we can't get on the computer, so we'll do this. And then people will think like, we came first. And they seem to think that whites did it. And this is when people's kids are going missing. Mhm. And then there's a bunch of meth going around to keep this going on. So imagine like you have meth and then you have white pedophiles. Thank you. And then you have like goofy ass bitches in between. Like, oh, you're getting your papers. No, you're getting your papers. This is like what you would use to like edit people's DNA from afar. So some of you guys were like using right, because like you would have already had them uploaded to the protein thing so you can edit their peptides, right? To then create specific outcomes in their DNA. Because what's the most impactful aspect of the DNA? Because the DNA itself is like the whole entire like structure. Where you get into like the mechanics and like different functions is mRNA, tRNA, zRNA, 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 zWACRNA. Okay, so there could be an opportunity for like learning here. There's something going on with one of the environments here. It's this one. She wants to know what is this chemical warfare. Okay, should be fine. It's like two people that are trying to download an environment on the internet. So like play with like face magic, like, oh, I'm ugly, so let me upload myself to this and then I'll try to cover myself with that, the energy of the empress. Let me help you. Okay, good. There we go. Oh, well, there we go. Good. So now let me go ahead and let me just stop that. I don't need to code anything else. Let me just put these two levels in there. That's good. That just means that they're like, oh, Sybil. It just means that they're playing like next to my daughter or playing like next to somebody's planet or playing next to somebody's planet because I am a planet, right? And that's where you have like another level of magic with NASA, like, oh, some of us are planets. And then like, oh, that's so cute. You know, like some of us actually are planets. And then we have certain like chemicals and intelligences that we can then invoke on other planets that we run. It's like one body can be like several planets, right? So a relative stereochemistry, that would be the triangle that doesn't have hatches in it. And I think that that would be like basically how to like create in the future a space where this would be like you say things in a way so that when you're trying to edit this and that, the octopus can say, oh, I can come here and put this right here and this right here. And then maybe you can get a dimethyl later or maybe a trimethyl later, right? It's like basically like so that when people take these drugs that it tries to like work in their body. So I think that that's funny, right? It's a Sybil, like a black psychic, Sybil, right? Remember the symbols of grows. It's the black psychics, prophetesses. We just get out and acting like nothing's happening, right? Okay. I look at what, yeah, trying to earlier. So it doesn't really work like that because they don't have like the proper, they don't know chemical standards. So you can't get to like a molecular shape or sequence without actually having proper chemical standards when it's in its cellular format, right? So that's like the biggest thing when it's in like its molecule format, not molecular, but molecule. Okay, so these are just some of the file formats that they're using to get people on the computer. Hmm. Mhm. And then you can see sources of chemical data where you can go ahead and get like chemical data. Now this one, I would like use this and say, oh, okay, I can get chemical data in computational toxicology form, and then I can go ahead and say, I can put this on a grid and show you by using these two variables how I can get this to like one. And then I can get rid of bacteria, stuff like that. Like none of that stuff is going to be on the planet until white people just like stop. We're not getting shit. We're still sitting here, still going back and forth. Everyone's beefing and fighting. Everyone's this out. People are looking for their kids. People are finding their kids. There's a bunch of shit going on. So I just feel like it should just keep on going in the way that it's going. But at least you guys know now what they've been doing and what they wanted from. They wanted to build like this type of like thing where they can go people's kids and like upload like rituals. So they have to do all that to just like work like they're doing it. They just write something and it works. Because we're not banished bitches and are also Celia Cruz in like 4 different bodies causing hella drama. And like doing disgusting delusional shit like this with people's kids. Right. So you can play with some like disgusting like gay woman that's like gay with like chemicals. I never molested my sister or my cousin. Like that's not why I'm doing this. So now what we can agree upon, right? Is that that's the chemical servers. So yeah, there's something like you can like buy lipstick, tampons, any type of beauty product, even clothes. And then they can like exist on like a chemical server where they constantly have access to like a specific type of protein or peptide. Remember, skin is a protein too, right? So you know that you can use some of these products and then it can upload your protein information, right, to a specific server so they can access you constantly. Thank you. And this is what you brought into everyone's community so you can call chase and play with people. And you started all of this because you saw what you did with Castle and all of them. Everybody lost everything. And instead of like taking that with a grain of salt, I'm like, oh, okay, I figure we should lose everything after kidnapping and raping and molesting everyone's kids in Oakland, starting useless ass drama and causing hella chaos. Like that just makes sense. It's a law of physics. Let's go start a bunch of other shit. Like, nah, I knew that we were gonna be able to make it out. Okay. Say, why are you mad at me? Because I'm tired of my name coming up with people's kids being molested and killed. Okay. Right. So I say that to say, you guys, I don't know, what do you think? What do you think? Are we done? Okay. So that's just like a tutorial, machine learning. I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you for watching.